So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this series on ActiveMQ. We're going to take a look at implementing this stuff in Java soon, but let's just see an example of some stuff just to lay some context. So here I have two diagrams, and what's going on here is that I have application A and application B, and they're performing some operations and doing some stuff. And during all this execution, they're producing log lines, they're writing logs. But I don't want to save those things to the server where this thing is running. I want to see them in Elasticsearch, and I want to be able to query them through some interface like Kibana, for instance. So I set up this logging sink, and I've made it expose some HTTP endpoints to accept these log lines. So when application A needs to write a log, it's going to call an endpoint, post endpoint on this logging sink, and that's going to write this log to Elasticsearch. Same thing with application B. So a couple of things to consider with this is that this is completely synchronous. Each of these applications, when they want to write a log line, they need to call this service, this remote service, and then wait for that call to finish before they can continue with the rest of their work. The other thing to note is that let's say I have 100 applications, all of them writing logs, it might overwhelm this sink with all those hundreds of connections coming in and thousands of log lines coming in. So then I probably need to spin up an additional logging sink and set up some load balancing or whatever. This approach is fine. It's fairly cheap if you consider what the HTTP does. It opens up some connection to this service, and then it keeps that connection open for some time. And if there's continuous traffic over that connection, it'll keep the connection open. So this one will work fine. Problem is, if logging sync goes down, there's no more logging. But I mean, that's a problem with any kind of solution, right? So synchronous HTTP requests. Then next, we have this solution. I still have my two applications, but right now there's this ActiveMQ message broker sitting somewhere in my system. This one is going to take care of receiving all those log events. And each one of those events or log lines that are being written will be saved to some queue, which then another application like this logging sync can then consume those messages and write them to Elasticsearch. One benefit of this approach is that the operation is asynchronous. So these applications don't need to wait for the log line to be written to Elastic and everything finished before it can continue execution. It can do a simple operation of putting a message on ActiveMQ, and then that's it. The rest of the system will kind of take care of writing those log lines out. This ActiveMQ hosts queues or topics, but we'll be taking a look at queues. So it's a first in, first out kind of approach. As these queues get filled with data, some consuming application will then start consuming those messages, and it's completely asynchronous. So application B could produce some log lines, application A could produce some log lines, and then the logging sync, it won't really know about any of those applications. It'll just write those messages out to Elasticsearch. If the traffic increases a substantial amount, ActiveMQ, this is dedicated software to handle this sort of messaging. So the performance here should be pretty good. And then this logging sync can just index all of those events at its own pace. So you might need to cluster your ActiveMQ installation, which is probably a good idea if one of the nodes go down and you have backup nodes to take over. The traffic is distributed across that sort of cluster of nodes. If for whatever reason logging sync goes down, the whole logging feature isn't gone with it. So as long as ActiveMQ is still active, these two applications can go ahead and write their log events. So let's take a look at the application that we're going to be building. I have it running here. Let me just clean up some stuff. So on this left side, I have the consumer, which I'll actually start the producer first. So this acts as the application that's going to be making these log lines. So if I put a log line here and another log line there, these logs are now being produced, but there's still nothing consuming them. So this application is just happily logging its stuff away. And then if I fire up the consumer and it comes online, it's going to start consuming those messages and then outputting those log lines. So it's pretty cool. And we're going to be building these two programs in here. So we have this consumer class and this producer class. So let's get into it.